So if you have a pot of water and it's at 98 degrees, it's not going to take very much energy or effort to make it go beyond 2 degrees and start to boil. So if that pot of water is sitting there at 98, like super easy to get it to boil over. If you start with water that's 10, 15, 20 degrees, it takes a lot longer and a lot more energy to move it up to the boiling point of 100 degrees. So the tension in a relationship is the same way.
Hey there, and welcome to the Digital Nomad Family podcast. This is the place where families who have or want to have a nomadic lifestyle come together to talk about the highs and lows that this life brings. We celebrate the joys and support each other in the hard. So, if you are a digital nomad family or will be in the future, this is the place for you. We're glad you're here. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Digital Nomad Family Podcast. If this is your first time listening, then I want to say thanks for just choosing to spend some time with us. My name is Marissa, and I am a digital nomad with my husband and our 4 kids. We are currently in El Salvador. We've been here for the past few episodes, if you've been listening via episodes, and we'll be here for the next few. So still loving it. We got in the pool today, so that's fun. As you know, kids love swimming pools. So that's been exciting. And just getting to know this country, I feel like it has a lot to offer for digital nomads, and it's not super popular. So if you're looking for a Central American place, check it out. Just be aware of the CA4 visa thing. I talked about that in the previous episode, so if you have no idea what that is, either Google it or listen to the last episode. This episode, we're going to keep going with our Disaster Diaries series, and this is all about marriage. And it's basically just going to be a conversation between a married nomad couple. And I'm excited because the married nomad couple is me and my husband. So all these episodes, this is number 26, and Eric is finally on the podcast, which I'm so happy about. And we're going to talk about marriage. So welcome.
Thank you. I can't believe 26.
Yeah, this is 26.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you. So thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Thank you. So we're in this series called Disaster Diaries, and the point of it is to just highlight some of they're important topics, but we don't always like to talk about them because either they're kind of scary, like what happens if the grown-ups get hurt. They're kind of sad, like, oh, shoot, I just missed my dad's 70th birthday party and I didn't get to go home for it, or just like these harder topics, but I still think that they're really important to talk about. And so this one is all about marriage, protecting your marriage as a traveling nomad couple, being aware of certain things. So how do you feel about that?
No, I think it's good. For us, we decided before we got married that the word divorce was not going to be in our vocabulary, even though I just used it. But we were never going to, threaten with divorce. Like it's not even an option to consider. So we better get along because there's
no exit.
There's no out. Yeah, there's no out.
Right. It's just, we're here. It's how it is.
Yeah.
So make the best of it situation.
Right. Exactly.
So I'll just ask a couple questions. Guys, you know more about the podcast probably than Eric does because you listen and he,
I hear you.
I
hear you recording them.
He hears me sitting in the bedroom alone talking to a microphone. But he has a podcast for something else. Well, he hosts another podcast and he's might be doing another podcast, but I don't listen to that. We love each other and we support each other emotionally, just maybe not physically in that way.
But I think this is a good first example. Like it's okay, even as digital nomads, to still have your own interest and things that you pursue that is yours.
Look how that happened.
We didn't even practice.
That was total accident.
Yeah, we did. It was pretty good. So it's like you have, this is your thing. And the way you do your podcast is not how at all I will do mine or do the one I'm currently a part of. And so it's probably good that we don't do this one together.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. Well, because Eric co-hosts one called Divi Chat, and it's all about. I don't even know people.
It's for web designers.
It's for web designers, so I don't watch it at all. But it does YouTube as well, right?
Yeah, we're live every Tuesday at 5:00 Eastern US, like 7 a.m. Australia.
Because there's an Australian on the panel, right?
Yeah, and somebody from and from the UK. So it's like 10 o'clock in the United Kingdom, 5 Eastern US, and like 7 a.m. Australian time. And then we have somebody on the West Coast. But yeah, that's just for web designers. Yeah, and I am getting ready to launch the Digital Nomad Entrepreneur podcast to go along with the Digital Nomad Family podcast, because I think the question we get asked more often than marriage is, how do you make money as a digital nomad?
Sure
so that's what that podcast be about.
But I don't make money, so I don't talk about that. I just talk about things like marriage.
Yeah. So you've got that over here, and this is your thing, and it's great. And then I have my thing. We have things that we do together, but I think because of the fact we're together all the time as digital nomad families, like I don't go to an office, I don't get a co-working space. 95% of the time I work from our dining room table. So I'm literally right in the middle of the entire family all the time.
And we love it so much. We don't miss you having your own office like in Peru whatsoever. We're loving the dining room table setup.
Well, it is funny. We did say, because of the next stop, one of our next stops, we're going to be there for an extended period of time, about 12 months. We've both said an office is non-negotiable.
Yeah. Because I think that we do spend so much time together that if we are able to have a little separation during the day, it is nice. And I think it's just better for you to focus, like for work.
ADHD does not play well sitting at a kitchen table trying to run a company.
No, it doesn't. So, okay, with marriage, with being digital nomads, I mean, we already said one thing, which I love that. It's okay to have your own interests. Do you have any other suggestions or anything like that if a married couple was feeling like we don't have our own interests? Like all of our stuff is so combined. Like, do you have any tips? Here's the thing I love about you guys. I can literally ask Eric this question and he will have like 17 ideas right now, because he is our visionary in the family. Like Eric, we always say like Eric sees the mountain and he's like, we're going to take it. And he gets us all passionate to take the mountain. And then like 3 days up the mountain, we'll be like, who brought the food? And he's like, I didn't think of that. So he'll always have ideas. So like if a wife is listening to this and she's like, I don't have my own thing, or a husband is listening and he's like, I don't have my own thing, what are some ways to maybe find a thing?
Find a thing. I mean, read a book, download an app to do crossword puzzles, go for a walk, go for a morning walk. I haven't been doing that in El Salvador.
Because it's hilly.
Because it's very hilly. And there's no view that I want to see.
Right.
In Mexico City, I went for a walk every morning to Chapultepec Park. In Peru, I went for a walk almost every morning up to the top of the hill overlooking the Pacific Ocean. There were these grand views. And I spent an hour by myself, sometimes listening to a podcast, sometimes just walking and thinking. Yeah. But one of the cool things about digital wedding is, it's when we move, everything changes, routines change and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just not doing a morning walk here. Yeah. And at first I didn't miss it, but now that we've been here for a month, I'm really starting to miss my morning walk.
Yeah.
But, find something to do. Set up a boundary together. Just talk to each other and say, hey, listen, maybe for, an hour Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday evening, I'm going to go to a coffee shop. Like, when we were in Mexico City, you were taking Spanish lessons. Mm-hmm. So you had your time to go away. Here, I think the reason in El Salvador, maybe I'm curious what you think. We haven't got into any of those things. One, because of the finances, but also just because we're only going to be here for 3 months. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I think the fact that we know it's just 3 months. I mean, whatever. Like it's going to go. It goes. I mean, we're already
3 months flies.
Yeah. We're already over a third of the way through, and so on. But I would say it's important to find something, even little. Like you spend more time on the balcony or in the bedroom with the door closed, talking on Marco Polo or even on a phone call with your mom, and so you have those things. So it's in those little moments.
The little like micro doses
Yeah.
of recharging yourself to not feel so like, I think it's totally fine in a marriage to be dependent. Like I am extremely dependent on you, but I don't want to be codependent.
Yeah.
Like I think dependency in a marriage is extremely important, but codependency is, I think, dangerous.
Yeah.
And so finding ways to just be alone a little bit and be comfortable, even if it's just like an hour, like I'm going to go to the grocery store, I'm going to run over here, I'm going to do this thing, and I'm comfortable with it. Like if you get to the point, and I think it's easy, I see this a lot in traveling couples, especially if they don't have the kids to kind of distract one of them, they get a little codependent on each other. And then even the idea of going to a coffee shop alone feels overwhelming.
Yeah. Or the idea of like making new friends.
Yeah.
Like you're suddenly shut off from that and stuff. So, so I think there's all kinds of things you can do. And if you're more adventurous, like in every city we've been in, when we didn't have this in Peru, but we didn't have anything in Peru. I don't know if
Peru
you shared about that, but we were in nowhere Peru.
I need to do like an overall episode and just talk about Peru, because I've left like little comments about Peru, but I haven't done a full on deep dive about. Peru was hard, people. Like it was hard.
It was for us. And
the way we did Peru.
And the way we did it. So don't do it the way we
did
it.
Maybe don't live where we lived without a car. Like it was.
For as long as, if we would have been there for a couple weeks, it'd have been fine. Yeah. But everywhere else, and I just saw this because Sarah, who is a co-host of Divi Chat, last night after the live show ended, she was sharing with us that her and her family have been doing karate for 2 years now. And she said, when she goes in, the place we use is an international, they're all over the world. And and I stopped and I thought about it. I've seen a karate, I can picture them. I've seen a karate dojo in literally every single city we've ever stayed in.
Even Peru. I can envision one right now on like the really long walk to church, where like if you only stay on the road, right past that hospital, there was a dojo.
Yeah, that's the only one I didn't think there was, but even there was.
Even there,
so
in nowhere, Peru.
And that's why I even told you this morning, like, hey, Sarah, I was testing an idea. I was like, hey, Sarah and her family,
it kind of didn't go over so well.
you were just like, okay.
I was. I think he was like, oh, my friend's doing this and they've been doing it and they've been loving it. And I'm like, that's good for them.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, so we won't do that.
You are more than welcome to do karate.
Maybe not. Maybe later. But it dawned on me, that is something I've seen, and I didn't think, I forgot about the one in Peru, but now you say it, it's right. So take up karate. We've seen a dojo literally everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, take karate.
Because of how amazing the world we live in right now is, you can take an online class. You can take an online fitness class. You can take an online any class.
Yeah. And nobody says that a co-working space has to be for working. Like find an online thing and rent a co-working space and go there to do it, or, go to the park, something like that. Like it's totally possible, but take up a hobby. I will, when we get back to the next time we pause in the United States, pass through, I will definitely be picking up my painting easel, and I didn't bring my art, my paint supplies and stuff this time, and I really miss it. So I'll definitely go back to traveling with my easel, because going out to paint plein air paintings of places we're at is something I miss doing. So. Yeah.
And that like recharges you, it fills you up. I have zero interest to do it, but I'm glad you do it. And I think that is a big part of marriage. Even if you live a more rooted lifestyle, you need to support your spouse and what they are feeling. Like, is life-giving to them? As long as it's something obviously that your marriage agrees with. But
it's also a cool way to meet people, because almost every single time I'm set up with an easel and I've got a sketchbook on it and I'm painting, people are curious. So people walk up and look, and very quickly, if they speak English, because I don't speak any other language, we'll strike up a conversation. And so it's been a great way to meet really fascinating people.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're talking. We're talking about marriage.
not
using painting to pick up chicks.
Maybe as a married man, don't pick up the chicks anyways. Oh my gosh. So, guys, usually for me, and I kind of talked about this in like the past episodes even, I usually have a list of stuff that I'm working on and it's a little more scripted out. We're not rolling that way this time, but Eric and I kind of talked a little bit about just some ideas for this episode. And one idea that we kind of talked about was this concept, and I'll let Eric explain it, but I feel like it is a really valuable analogy, metaphor, something about marriage and just, I think, all relationships, but it really works for marriage.
Yeah, so I'm going to use Celsius because it's more universal. So water, in case you didn't know, if you're from the United States, water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. So if you have a pot of water and it's at 98 degrees, it's not going to take very much energy or effort to make it go beyond 2 degrees and start to boil. Mm-hmm. So if that pot of water is sitting there at 98, like super easy to get it to boil over. If you start with water that's 10, 15, 20 degrees, it takes a lot longer and a lot more energy to move it up to the boiling point of 100 degrees. So the tension in a relationship is the same way. If we are at a tension of 95 in our relationship, well, it's not going to take very much to push us beyond, our breaking point. Mm-hmm. And we're just going to snap. And in the snap is when things get broken. Yeah. A rubber band can be stretched out and will go back to its original form. But as soon as you break the rubber band, even if you tie it and mend it, there's this big ball. Like, it's never going to go back to what's right. So I think it's important that for digital nomad couples who are voluntarily bringing in the additional stressors of relocating, having new setup of beds, new showers. Yes. You never know how your water pressure is going to be. Like, and you never know.
Pillow comfort.
Or the pillow comfort or the hot water. Like,
yes.
All of these little things that.
The wardrobe setup.
Yeah. Like, really could be, if you're at 95 degrees, if you add a couple of these little things in, boom, you're going to snap at somebody.
Yeah. And
we almost always snap at the person that we think is going to give us the most grace. Yeah. And for a married couple, that's going to be our spouse. Yeah. And so we're going to take our frustration out on them. So you have to work to keep the stress in not the stress, but the tension in your relationship at a manageable, 10, 20. There's always going to be, you can't eliminate the tension.
No, it's always going to be a little warm.
Yeah, because, and I say this as somebody that used to, be a pastor full time and would pastor people. I disagree with people that say you just say everything. No, there's some things you just need to keep your mouth shut and not say anything about. Like, if you do something and it's a one-time thing and I find it annoying or out of character. Yeah, like, I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut because it's a me problem. Especially if I'm the one that's annoyed by it. Well, that's not on you. That's a me problem. Yeah. And since it's a me problem, well, then I'll just deal with it. Mm-hmm. Now, so that's you're never going to get to zero. You're always going to be at 5, 10, 15 degrees. Always. I wouldn't.
I think for even a traveling couple to bring it up a little bit more, because we do have like you said, we're choosing to bring in these other stressors. Like, to even say like we live at like a 20.
Yeah.
Like, as a nomadic couple, I think that's fine to be like, hey, let's even bump it up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think it's also okay to listen to this with your spouse and give yourselves the common language of this right here. Yes. Because both of us in our marriage have a leadership responsibility. Leadership is influencing somebody else. We can both influence each other. Therefore, we both have leadership responsibilities. And leaders are thermostats, not just thermometers. A thermometer only is going to take the temperature and can report the temperature. That's all it does. A thermometer says, "Hey, look, this is the temperature." A thermostat has a thermometer, so it knows, but then it can influence that. It can raise or lower it. And so in marriage, we both have to be thermostats. And so having some common language where you can look at your spouse and say, "Hey, I just need to let you know right now, I'm at 95 degrees. It's not you, but it is this apartment. It is this landlord. It is the neighbor upstairs. It is all these other things.
Family in our passport country, like whatever it is.
I'm going to go for a walk."
Yeah.
Because I'm going to do that. I need to
Literally cool down.
I need to bring the temperature down. Or if it is with the other person, then you need to be able to go and say, "Hey, listen, I love you. But I've got to take this conversation the last 10%. This is where I'm going to say the things that I normally wouldn't say because I'm at 95 degrees." And so having this degree analogy, I think gives a couple language to help them express and communicate without, I want to let you know, like, I'm just feeling, I've got these feels going on and I'm feeling tense and
because we don't need to add like the drama to a tense situation because all that does is create hurt in a way.
I can't stand drama.
No, he cannot.
Go join the circus. I'm not going to deal with it.
Are they actually dramatic?
Sure. Have you ever been to a circus?
No.
I have no idea, but let's just go with it.
Go join the circus. I think most people would say like go to Hollywood or something. For you, it's the circus. That's where the drama lives.
Basically, get away from me. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, okay. So we really like this whole degree thing. For us, it's very helpful because there are times, and like when an example, I think a real life example from our relationship. You good if I share the side table?
Sure.
Just what's that thing called? Bedside table.
Bedside table.
So I sleep on whatever side of the bed is farthest from the door. We don't necessarily have assigned sides of the bed. We're animals, I know. I sleep on the side of the bed that's farthest from the door because that makes me feel safer, even though if the bad guy comes in, let's be honest, it don't matter. But
Please, girl, I'll take that guy out anyway.
Eric's got him.
Me and my fire extinguisher.
We do. We sleep with it. Well, we don't have one here. I just thought of that now that you said that.
Yeah, it's the first time I haven't thought of it.
Oh, we usually have a fire extinguisher right beside our bed. Like in every single Airbnb even.
Yeah.
We do. Anyways.
I just didn't do it at this one. Probably because when we got here and I went to set up all of our safety stuff, this one already had a smoke detector. Yeah. And so I put all of my safety things away. And so I didn't even think about it. But normally I move the fire and I show the kids. Yeah. So we know. But I move the fire extinguisher by the bed. So if somebody does break in the middle of the night, I can spray them with carbon dioxide.
Or if there is a fire, we can knock it down to get to the kids at least a little bit.
Yeah, I prefer to have it.
We do like to have it right beside our bed. So, but here we don't. So anyways, back to the real point of the story. I sleep farther from the door. Well, Eric at nighttime likes to have his phone plugged in so then he can see the clock because Airbnbs they don't have clocks in the bedroom. They just don't. And so we got into this apartment and in our bedroom, there's only one bedside table and it's on the side further from the door. And so at that point, I just kind of like defaulted and let Eric take it. Like we didn't have a conversation about it. And like, I'm like him and I have talked about this. I'm not bitter about it. Like there's no like upset feelings about it. I was just like, oh, well, I know he likes to have that. In my opinion, and this is why I'm like, I don't think, kind of like how Eric said a few minutes ago, I don't think you need to talk about everything. My desire to sleep farther from the bed is a mental thing. It's not based in reality whatsoever. Whereas Eric wanting to be able to plug his phone in so he can have his alarm clock, that is a real, like, tangible thing.
Well, and I I like to have somewhere very safe to put my glasses.
Right. Like you have real legitimate needs for a bedside table.
And I'm literally legally blind.
Yes.
Literally legally blind. And so, I have to have somewhere safe to put my glasses because my glasses are super important. And I need to know what time it is because I have no idea. If I wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning,
Don't just get out of bed, people.
I'll just like, I need to look because it's like, oh, no, it's 1 o'clock. Go back to sleep. But if I wake up and I don't know what time it is, I just have to get up because what if it's 5 o'clock in the morning?
He's convinced if he wakes up and it's like 12:30, in his head, it's like 7 o'clock and he's 3 hours late for work.
Yeah. So I need to have that.
Like he has literally gotten up. I've seen this man make coffee at not even 4 o'clock yet because he didn't know what time it was. I have seen that happen.
Because I thought I knew what time it was.
So, what you need from a bedside table, in my opinion, trumps my desire to sleep farther from the door. I hope everyone is tracking with that. So I just said, okay, you take it. It wasn't even a conversation, but I wasn't even upset about it either. I hope everyone is understanding this. Well, let's say on that travel day when we came here, let's say we would have had some disagreement previously, or there would have been loads of stressors to get here, like awful travel day or something, right? And now I'm living at 95 and we walk into the bedroom and I see there's only one bedside table and it's on my side of the bed. Well, now it's not going to take a lot for me to just get irrational over absolutely nothing. And now I'm harming our marriage for not being able to sleep where I want to sleep when both sides are just as safe.
Yeah, I agree. And I think like you got to have some days that like maybe I should keep a journal of it sometime. But the things I don't say on travel days would literally fill a journal.
Yes.
Like there are days where things are going to be more stressful, and you know what? Don't be a baby. Like, okay, so yeah, I don't ever really give an opinion on a travel day about where we're eating in a rest or in an airport or anything like that.
If you get food in your stomach, be happy.
Yeah, like rarely do we eat where I want to eat,
right?
And things like that on a travel day. But I don't care.
Because it defaults to the kids.
Yeah, it's easier for the kids. It's just like, yeah. And so I think one of the things you have to do in this lifestyle is you have to die to yourself a lot more. You have to give up things because you're going to gain so much more.
Yes.
The benefit out of all of this is the reason we choose to live this lifestyle, because we are always together. Mm-hmm. Institutions are not raising our children. We're raising our children. Yes. We're not separating, every day, going to, different places, having completely different work friends. I don't have, we just don't have separate friends and things like that. And so, so there's all of these reasons we wanted to do this. But the reasons we wanted to do this can very quickly become the things that destroy this. Yeah. And so you also just have to remember, we're to be each other's biggest fan.
Yes.
And so we have to be able to root for the other person and be careful, you got it with what you fill the gaps in with. There's going to be a gap in communication, and when that happens, you can either assume the worst or expect the best. So it's important to expect the best.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think this idea of understanding that you and your spouse are a team together and you need to be rooting them on, because even as a traveling couple, you are going to have legitimate marriage bumps.
Sure.
They're still here. You and I won't say what it was about, but one of I would say our biggest fight happened not in our passport country. It happened in Europe. He's sitting there going, I don't remember. It did. I promise.
I believe you. I have no idea what you're talking about.
He doesn't. In my opinion.
I'm sure I learned my lesson.
He did.
Because I just knew it was somehow my fault. I have no idea what we're talking about right now, but I know it was my fault, and I know I learned my lesson.
He's a good husband. But you're still going to have legitimate marriage issues. You still have in-laws. Excuse me. You still have to deal with in-laws. You still have to deal with raising your kids. You still have to deal with finances. Like, we have to sit down and make a budget. We did that even when we were rooted in the United States, and now we're doing it as a traveling couple. And so you still have those typical marriage things, and those can bring about bumps. So you're still going to have those. And I think trying to understand, okay, at the end of the day, we're a team, we're together. Divorce is not an option. Like, we will make this work. And that's not to say that we're just going to stick it out and be miserable. It's like, no, I choose to love you.
We'll quit traveling first.
Right.
But
like, even if we were rooted in the United States, I'm going to work to make this marriage work, because it goes back to, I mean, being a Christian. Like, I made a commitment to you and to this family, not because I had an emotion or I had butterflies when I was young, like, it's no, I choose you, and I choose you every single day. Whether or not I feel butterflies for you today, that's beside the point. That doesn't matter. That's neither here nor there. But we're committed to each other. And so as we're traveling this world and we get to see these awesome things together and show them to our kids, I think remembering that, like, choosing to root for you, choosing to be your biggest fan. Because I think one of the things that I heard on a marriage lecture one time, the guy was talking about how we don't need to point out our spouse's flaws or insecurities or anything like that, because every single one of us, we're our own worst enemy. So, like, we look in the mirror and we say those things. So why in the world would we want our spouse to say them as well? Right. Like, I don't need you to point out my flaws. I know my flaws. I need you to cover my flaws up. And I need to do the same for you, I think. Like, you know your flaws. I don't need to point them out to you. I'm going to be your biggest fan. And in those moments where I'm reaching 100 degrees Celsius, I need to figure out, okay, how can I cool down? Does this mean that we actually need to have a conversation? And something else that we kind of talked about previously, like before we started recording, was I think that there are certain things that you need to just be honest about from the get-go. Like, if someone is doing something and they've done it repetitively, and like you're seeing, okay, this isn't just a one-off, kind of like Eric was talking about at the beginning. One-offs are totally like, maybe they were extremely tired or just super hungry. I have said some kind of mean things when I'm hangry. And so get a sandwich in me and I'll be nicer. Like, that's, but I think that there are some things that to try to keep that temperature down, we need to be honest in our marriage, but the other person, like, have some thick skin, like, put on your big kid pants and don't get so offended. Like, something that Eric could very easily point out to me, it's not so much here, because I don't have a bedside table, but I promise I'm not. It's literally just, this is a habit I do. I bring water into the bedroom every night, and easily by the end of a week, I'm looking at maybe like 5 cups. Like, would you say that's fair?
I would say that's fair. And I would say that it is also no big deal that since we've been here, I have probably carried 3 to 5 cups a week off of my bedside table. Because during the day, you come in here.
I do, guys.
There's one sitting there right now.
There right now.
And it'll probably be there. And I'll just take it away. Because again, that's a me thing. That's annoying, an annoyance to me.
Right,
so.
But I wouldn't say that, like, let's say I'm leaving cups on your bedside table, which is like where you plug in your iPad, where you plug in your phone, where you want your glasses to be. Like, you need space on that for legitimate reasons, which I think are fair. If Eric comes to me, guys, and he's like, hey, hon, you've been leaving cups on my bedside table, and it's kind of frustrating to me because it makes me feel like you don't care about keeping my stuff nice, making, me have whatever, right? It's frustrating to me because I always have to take cups out to the kitchen to I have room on my bedside table. I need to just be a grown up and go, oh, you know what? You're right. I'll stop.
Yeah, but I need to be a grown up. And again, it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
It's a cup. I can pick up a cup.
Right.
And so it's one of those things, like, it's really not and it's not like, because the thing you got to be careful of is you're not holding on to it.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's what I was trying to get at. Like, if it's frustrating you constantly, like if it's like doing something negative to your heart towards me, then you just need to tell me that.
If you're having pretend conversations about the thing you should have said about the cup, then you need to start, like, if you're having pretend conversations, that's a problem. Or if you're thinking about it outside of the situation, like never once has the cup on the bedside table crossed my mind ever until I see it. It's only on my mind when I see it. But here's the thing. We're going to be here for 2 more months. I can deal with it for 2 months. If this was permanent, well, then I would probably say something.
Yeah, highlight it a little
We're only going to be here for 3 months.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah. I think figure out like, hey, do I need to bring this up or can I just live with it? And then when your spouse brings it up to you, like let's say Eric, we are going to be here for a year, and Eric says, hey, hon, can you, whenever you're done, just please try to remember to take your cups out so they're not all piled up on my bedside table. I just need to be a grown-up about that. Because that's not you attacking me as a wife. That's not you attacking me as a mom. That's not you attacking me as a daughter or a Christian. Like, you're not attacking my character. You're attacking a habit. Like, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think those are kind of like my 2, what were they, 2 or 3 that we just gave? Measure your temperature, be honest, and understand that you're on the same team.
Yeah. And then I think the last thing is understanding that for me, I don't see you carrying any responsibility whatsoever to make me feel significant, accepted, or secure. That only comes through my relationship with Jesus Christ. Yeah. I am covered by the love and grace and mercy of God. And so that's enough for me. That is sufficient for me. And it gives me an abundance to cover our relationship with love, grace, and mercy. Yeah. But you're also doing the same thing. Yes. And so we have this mutual thing happening because I don't feel the pressure to make you satisfied. I don't feel the pressure to make you happy. It is not my job to make you happy. It is not your job to make me happy. I find all of that through seeking God. And then as couples, seeking God for each other. Yeah. Praying for your spouse. From time to time, when I was much better at when we were in Mexico because we were doing a weekly coffee date. And we're going to do that when we get to Spain. Here again, it's just 3 months. But from time to time asking you, what's on your prayer list right now? If I can be praying for the things you're praying about, I see you very different when I've spent time praying for you, not about you. If your prayers are all about God, would you please change my wife? That's a problem. You're at 90 degrees.
At 98,
you're at 90. Yeah, you're in a bad place. I will pray for God to change me and my flaws for you, and then I'll pray about the things you're praying about. Yeah. And so again, I think you have to have a healthy perspective.
Yeah, I think I agree completely. I think when we, and I do think, I will say this, if you are married just recently, you're going to be listening to this and maybe not agree with anything we've said. But we've been married now we've been together for 15 years, I think married for 14. I think, yeah, we'll go with that. I could be wrong. Don't hold me to that, people.
I'm going to remember.
I don't. And so when you get down the road in marriage a little bit, you understand what's actually important. And like the things that are actually important is my biggest goal for Eric and our marriage is for him to just feel completely accepted by me. And I don't want to be like, I want to be that, I don't want to say it like in like a feminine way though, because I know men don't like that. But it's like, I don't want to be like a rocky beach. Like I want to be like a soft place to land. Like I want to be your biggest fan. And if that means you do something with your company and maybe I don't agree with the way you're doing it, but I agree with the goal you have. Okay, I'm going to cheer you on. I'm going to be like, I think you can make that work. Like, I think that's what you should do. If you are trying to do something like with your personal life, I'm just going to cheer you on. You know what I mean? Like, just be their biggest fan. So I think that's important.
Yeah.
So anything else?
No. I can't think of anything else. I don't think this is a proper venue to point out just how lucky you are to be married to me. So I'll let I'll let that one just go. I'll find the right place though to remind you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, of course. So I would just, yeah, I don't know. I think you said it all. So yeah, I have nothing else to say.
Awesome. Well, guys, I hope that was helpful to you. Eric and I, by no means do we have a perfect marriage, but I don't think anyone does. But I truly believe we have a pretty fantastic marriage. We really are each other's best friends and biggest fans. And I know that no one has my back like he does. He's going to support me. He's going to encourage me. He's going to pray for me. He's going to pray with me. So yeah, I just think all of that really matters. And as traveling couples, keeping these things in perspective, keeping the greater goal, and being honest and being an adult through situations, I think that really matters. And sadly, I think just the way our world is going, adults aren't being as adulty as they need to be. And so just be a grown-up. Have some thicker skin. If your spouse points something out to you that annoys them about a habit, not you as a person, just a habit you have, okay, be a grown-up about it. Like, they're not attacking you. They love you. And then when you do that to them, remind them that you love them. It's just a habit. So yeah, I hope that this kind of gives you guys some common language to use as a couple. And if you've listened to this, send it to your spouse, or listen to it together, whatever. So then you can kind of talk about it and think like, hey, what are some metrics we can put in? Like, do we want to do like a 1 to 10 number, the Celsius thing? What do we like? But just make some common language. Just because it works for me and Eric doesn't mean it's going to work for you guys. But just figure it out the best that you can. And I think that it's going to really help your marriage as you are traveling around this fantastic world. So with all that, I want to say...
I do have one more thing.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Yeah. The last thing I want to say is anybody that's listening right now needs to go leave a rating and review. Yeah. And if not, I'm going to ban you from listening in the future. So I own...
Don't know how you're going to do that.
Oh, I know. I have developers. I have developers on my team that can do some pretty crazy... Okay, I can't really. But seriously, go leave a rating review. Marissa works very hard for this podcast. She stresses about it. I was laughing at her the other day because I do a lot of podcasts for other things. And I got to laughing because I said, I walked into the bedroom and I was like, you do something I've never done before. And she's like, what's that? I went, you listen to your podcast. I record, I publish, and I never go back. But she studies, she's practicing, she's giving us a lot of time and effort. So leave a rating review. And she loves getting questions and like, what do you want to hear?
Yes.
Like, she's very open to all of that. So go leave a rating and review or you and I are going to have problems.
Really quick housekeeping thing before I say goodbye. Someone pointed out to me that there's like minutes at the end of several of the latest podcast episodes of just nothingness. So I am looking into that. So thank you guys for letting me know about that. I really appreciate it. I don't know what it is yet, but I am working on it. So hopefully we get that sorted out soon. So thank you guys for listening. I hope that this was helpful, and I hope you're liking this Disaster Diaries series that we're going through. I'm loving it personally. So yeah, thank you guys again. And as always, I hope you continue to travel joyfully.